I wanted to take a few minutes with you and talk about how I came about doing all this work. About 12 years ago, I was in this movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? And in that movie, we made the effort to combine many different principles and theoretical science to begin to teach people that their thoughts have something to do with their life, and to show them that if they applied the principles, they could begin to produce changes in their world. One of the most common questions we got as a result of the movie is, how do we do it? How do we begin to make measurable changes in our lives? And if our personality creates our personal reality, and we have to change our personality in order to change our personal reality, why is it so hard to change? And I thought those questions were really great questions because people were more interested in understanding to take those principles and really begin to apply them. So I started teaching these conferences and workshops around the world. And at the same time, I was writing my second book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And what made my second book different than my first book was in the second book, I gave people some of the tools to use to begin to practice the inner work and make internal changes in the way they thought and the way they felt, and to see if it produced changes in their outer world or in their body or in their lives. And what I did was I took some of the ideas and principles in studying spontaneous remissions from diseases that I had researched years before when I wrote my first book, and I thought, well gosh, if it worked on sick people, maybe it could work on well people. And so the principles of personal change and transformation that I learned from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that were treating both conventionally and unconventionally, and they were staying the same or getting worse, and all of a sudden got better, I thought, well, if it worked for them, it should be able to work for other people, and we should be able to replicate the process. So in Breaking the Habit, I wanted to use some of those principles in the how-to make measurable changes in people's thoughts and in their biology, in their genes, in their chemistry, and really even in their energy, and really see if it was able to move the needle in their lives in some way. And in the first couple years after that movie, we didn't see much change in people's lives. But people always wanted more information, and we kept teaching those workshops and conferences, and then all of a sudden, the magic started happening. In fact, people started to heal by thought alone. And because we were seeing so many significant changes, I assembled a team of researchers and scientists to begin to measure those changes. We've done about 18 or 19 advanced workshops all around the world in measuring people's changes in a 4-day event. The same thing that you'll be learning on this online course we taught in these past workshops. And people come for a host of different reasons. Some people come because they're suffering from a disease, or they have a chemical or physical imbalance in their body. Some people come because they want to create a new life, a new job, a new relationship. Some people come because they're interested in having mystical experiences. But whatever the reason is that inspires you to become a creator of your life, the principles, the very basic principles of how to do it is exactly the same. And I have to tell you that I never thought that I would be standing here telling you that common people around the world are doing the uncommon, and they are becoming supernatural. And because they're becoming supernatural, I wrote another book called You Are the Placebo, where I show people how to heal by thought alone, and then it led to this whole breakthrough of measurements and changes in our objective scientific findings that transcended really common understanding of what could happen to a person. In fact, we've made scientific history in the last 4 years over and over again, and it's people just like you that are doing it. But whatever the reason is that inspires you to do this online course, I want you to know that you have within your reach all the machinery to begin to connect to this field of intelligence that we have access to, called the unified field. You'll learn how to organize your autonomic nervous system and create more wholeness and balance in your body. You'll be able to understand what it means to get beyond yourself and ultimately create a new future. So think about this. If you spend the majority of your day focusing on matter, focusing on everything in this three-dimensional world that's made of material things, it begs the question, how much of your time and your attention do you put on that unified field, that invisible field of information that exists beyond space and time. And just like when you're unaware of your nose, it doesn't exist, and the moment you become aware of it, it exists. The quantum field is exactly the same way. If you put very little attention on it in your waking day, then it doesn't exist for you. But the moment you begin to become aware of it, the moment you begin to pay attention to it, the moment you begin to stay present with it and to experience it moment after moment, and if where you place your attention, as you learned, is where you place your energy, and where you place your attention causes things to expand, the moment you begin to experience it, not with your senses, you experience this three-dimensional reality with your senses, but you experience it with your consciousness and with your awareness. The moment you become pure consciousness is the moment you make contact with that unified field. And so we now know the techniques and the tools to get people beyond themselves. And in fact, we know that after thousands and thousands and thousands of brain scans, that you're at your absolute best when you get beyond yourself, when you take your attention off your body, when you take your attention off your identity that's connected to people in your life, the things you own, objects you own, places you have to go, and time itself. The moment you become nobody, no one, no thing, no where, and no time, that is the moment you become pure consciousness. And that's the moment you begin to connect to that field of possibilities called the unified field or the quantum field. And that field is an invisible field of information that exists beyond this space and time. And independent of the color of your skin, your gender, your diet, your sexual preference, independent of your profession, your class, independent of all those things that create separation, that every human being has access to it. And this course is about not waiting for crisis to begin to create the life you want, but in fact becoming inspired that you are the creator of your life and using the tools and principles to be able to do it. As an example, we had a student who wanted to prove to herself that she could become an abundant person. And I want to remind you, it's not about the wealth that she was interested in, it was who she was becoming in the process. And every single day, she got beyond the thoughts that I can't, it's too hard, I'll never be wealthy, money is bad. She got beyond the habits of living in lack and not being afraid to spend money and taking a chance. She got beyond the emotions of unworthiness and separation and fear. And every single day, she kept creating and becoming something else. She parked her car and was heading to a meeting, and went to the meeting, and when she came out, she took her ticket and was going to pay for the time that she was there, and all of a sudden $100 bills just started shooting out of the machine. Now, she was so overjoyed because she was correlating that experience of money flowing to her with the experience that she had just had a few days before in her meditation, where she had connected to that field and she felt it flowing through her. And when she saw the money flying out of the machine, $100 bills, and everybody standing around looking at it, it was no longer about the money. It was about the fact that she created it. And she left the money for everybody else to have because that's what abundant people do. And she continued and laughed all the way home and realized that if she could create that, she could create anything. Now, beauty behind that is that it could happen to you, and many experiences for many of our students are pretty much the same. So, the course is about you connecting to that field. The course is about you getting beyond yourself. The instructions are for you to begin to create more inner balance so it can be witnessed in your outer world and to literally create a new future. People who are creating those futures take time out of their busy lives to become a work in process. That every day they're overcoming some aspect of themselves to become somebody else. So you are no different than any of those people. In the courses that we've done over the last 4.5, 5 years, much of the content will be packed into this online course for you to begin to practice in 7 different lessons, 7 weeks in a row. And at the end of 7 weeks, you should begin to see some shifts in your life. That's why we're doing this. Over the course of the last 6 or 8 years, we've had students heal themselves from cancer, from MS, from lupus, from rheumatoid arthritis, from Crohn's disease, from rare genetic disorders that medical science has had no solution for. We've had people improve their vision, improve their hearing, have very significant changes in brain function, in depression and anxiety. We've seen a host of different changes from people applying this work. One student just recently in Cancun, Mexico this year was diagnosed with hearing loss. And I know this man. He had hearing aids that he wore all the time. On the last day of the advanced workshop, when we were connecting to that field, he came out of the last process and he sat down and we were presenting some of the new research with our brain science team to the community. And he realized that he could hear everything perfectly, but when he looked down, he realized he wasn't wearing his hearing aids, which means that he had a significant change in his hearing. When he finished the event and he was standing in line to get his post measurements and his brain tests, he was sitting there without his hearing aids in, and he could hear people whispering, which he hadn't been able to do. When someone like that has a significant change and they stand in front of an audience and begin to explain their story, you can identify with them a little bit more. And I always tell our students, you have no idea, by choosing to do this work and becoming the example of the truth of this information, whose lives you'll begin to change in the future. And many people now are taking time out of their busy lives to learn this material, to practice it, and to begin to see the changes in their health and in their lives and in their future. So I want to warn you that if you join this course, that you are going to come up against yourself. I want you to. I want you to become conscious of those unconscious thoughts, and so conscious of them that you'll never go unconscious again. I want you to become so aware of how you act and what you say, and so conscious and familiar with the old self that you would never go unconscious and return back to that old self. And I want you to be challenged emotionally, that when you're in the meditation and you want to quit because you're feeling some disturbing emotion, that is standing in the way between you and your future. And when you begin to realize that, my goodness, I may have been living my whole life in suffering, and I didn't even know that I was suffering because it just felt like me. The moment you start detaching from those programs and you begin to free yourself from the past and change your energy, that's when your life should begin to change. But the course is designed to take you further than where you normally go. Because when you step out into that unknown, that is, what you're used to and familiar with, into the unknown, I can tell you from thousands and thousands of experiences with students all around the world, that's where the magic happens. It never happens in the known. It always happens right in that place called the unknown. So we've designed the course to challenge you with the intention to know that if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. And yet at the same time, just like learning any skill, the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So you will come up against certain limitations. The course is designed to press you to get to that point. But if you break through, and you will, because many people have, and you persist with determination, you should begin to see changes in your life. So I invite you into the course. I invite you to participate. I invite you to join a community of people that are doing the supernatural. And in order for you to become supernatural, you may have to start doing what feels unnatural. And if you keep doing what feels unnatural over and over again, sooner or later you'll become supernatural. That field of intelligence, that quantum field that you have access to, is intelligent love and loving intelligence. And when you begin to connect to it, you're going to begin to feel more whole. And when you feel more whole, you feel less separate from your dreams. You feel less separate from people and things in your life. You feel like your dreams have already happened. And we don't pray in this work to have our prayers answered. We get up as if our prayers are already answered. Most people create in their life from separation. They feel lack, they feel emptiness, they see somebody has something that they want, and they get about creating it. The problem is that they're doing it matter trying to change matter. And they will reach their goals and dreams, but it may take them an enormous amount of time to get there. When you create from this field called the quantum field, and you create from a realm beyond space and time, the more wholeness you feel, the more connected you are to the dream that you're creating, the less separation you have. And if separation is based on 2 points of consciousness, the more you surrender into the unified field and the more whole you are as a result of it, your biology literally changes. We have measured it in the brain and the heart, all the way down to the genes. And when your body gets a biological upgrade and you get up from your meditation feeling like it has already happened, then you get to live your life in a state of wholeness and oneness, and that's when the magic begins to happen. So join the community of people that are doing the uncommon. Practice the work. You'll have all the tools to do it, and I hope to see you in my future. Thank you.